Hello everyone, this is AndresRestart, and today we are talking about how Nintendo's secret legacy game may be Switch 2's biggest surprise of 2025. Now some of you may be asking, what is this secret legacy game? What are you getting at here? Well, there were a few different apparent leaks that came out shortly before Nintendo's recent June Direct. And in this Direct, we got several confirmations of these different codename leaks, which seems to suggest that the other codename leaks may also indeed be valid. So with this in mind, it has me thinking more about this legacy project and what we should expect from it. What is this game? How big of a deal is it going to be? Well, it's supposedly being made by Monolith Soft, one of Nintendo's greatest developers, the studio behind the Xenoblade games and also support development for the Zelda games, Animal Crossing, and Splatoon. They are a pretty big deal. And when considering all the different circumstances at hand here, I think we're in for something that may turn out to be the biggest surprise of 2025. And I think that could be saying a lot, because we're going to be seeing some very special things in 2025, like Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, Pokemon Legends ZA, perhaps the next 3D Mario, perhaps the next Mario Kart. It's Monolith Soft's game that currently has me the most curious. And that's what we'll be speaking more on today. But before going forward, let me ask that if you do enjoy my content, to please subscribe and hit that notification bell. So there were several big Nintendo codename leaks from Midori before he had his big falling out. Now, while he may no longer be in the leaking scene, that doesn't necessarily take away from the validity of his leaks. The great majority of Midori's leaks have proven to be very valid. And from what we've seen of the different Nintendo leaks, they also seem to be holding strong. And there were several. There were codenames for Spiral, Anna, Legacy, which we'll be speaking more on today, SP Red, Silver Star, Banquet, and Edward. And at least two of these have been confirmed already, and the direction they led us to think what these would be have proven to be totally true. And just to be clear, the games have been confirmed, but the codenames of these games have yet to be confirmed, but they seem likely. So speaking on Banquet first, when we got this codename leak, considering the history of different codenames you've seen in Nintendo, what it led most of us to believe is that we would be seeing a sequel to Super Mario Party. And let me be clear here, not just another Mario Party game, but another Mario Party game with the Super Mario Party naming scheme. In other words, a direct follow-up to the Mario Party game we got in 2018 for Nintendo Switch, Super Mario Party. And the reason for this is because the codename for Super Mario Party was Buffet. So with Banquet, we were thinking we'd be getting something like that. And what was confirmed during the June Nintendo Direct? Super Mario Party Jamboree, a direct follow-up to that specific Mario Party game. So in this case, the codename leak held extremely well. The other codename leak that was seemingly confirmed during the Direct was the one for Zelda by the name of Edward. You see, some people have thought that maybe Midori didn't leak something here because many are under the impression that all Zelda games have to do with royalty. And I think that is true, the Zelda games do have to royalty, but some people think it just has to do with the playing cards, Joker, Queen, King, Jack. But those only pertain to the 3D Zelda games. For the 2D Zelda games, they have a different naming scheme. It's names of royalty. So for example, Triforce Heroes was Alice. Link's Awakening was Richard. And Edward, we believe, is The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. You see, Edward and Richard are actually two brothers that were trapped in a tower. They were princes. So the implication of Edward meant something related to Link's Awakening. And with Echoes of Wisdom, it's literally a game using the exact same graphical art style, and there's also a lot of speculation that from a story perspective it may be a direct follow-up to Link's Awakening. That part is still up for speculation here, but the point is the codename of Edward, which was indicated by Midori to later be some sort of new 2D Zelda game, has also proven true. So these codename leaks are proven to be pretty strong. So then going back to Legacy, I think we can believe that this is indeed the next Monolith Soft game with more confidence. But what will it actually be? Because many people want it to be another Xenoblade game, or perhaps even a remaster of Xenoblade Chronicles X. As I've discussed in the past, I don't think it's either of these things. When taking a look at the different codenames for Xenoblade games, they have to do with Kyojin, Titan, Big Folk, or Small Folk, and that's not what Legacy relates to. Now, maybe it could be some sort of follow-up to Xenoblade Chronicles X, where it's about space travel or Space T, but when we look at Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, it's Big Folk SW, as in Switch. So, Legacy doesn't really match that. It would probably be something like Space Travel SW, or Space Travel SW Switch 2, or something to that effect, whatever the Switch 2 codename is going to be. And Legacy appears to be something totally different. So I don't think that this game is another Xenoblade game. I don't think this game is even a remaster for Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. I think this is finally the new IP we've been seeing listings for so many years from Monolith Soft, something they've been working on throughout the entire Switch era. See, this listing is still here for the new IP. They've been hiring for it all this time. I think this is what we're going to see. And going by the release cadence of Monolith Soft, I do think we should expect their next big game in 2025. Xenoblade Chronicles X released in 2015, they skipped the year in 2016, and then for the launch year Switch 2 they had Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Torn of the Golden Country DLC in 2018, then a break year in 2019, with a remaster of Xenoblade Chronicles in Definitive Edition in 2020, another break year in 2021, 2022 was Xenoblade Chronicles 3, with the DLC Future Redeemed in 2023, and now for 2024, now that we've passed the Direct, it's been confirmed that there will not be a Monolith Soft game coming out this year, so this is a break year, which leads me to believe that we're likely getting a new game from them next year, assuming they hold the pattern. But what's also interesting here is that since we've already gotten 2 of these different codename games confirmed, there may be an indication that the other ones are also not so far off either. These codename leaks may be pertaining to the Switch 2 transition, the final big games Nintendo will be putting out for the Switch 1 in that last year before Switch 2, and then the games that could be coming out in that first year of Switch 2. Like SP Red, which many of us believe to be the next 3D Mario, perhaps Spiral being some sort of follow-up to Splatoon, and Anna being some sort of follow-up to Switch Sports, which would make a lot of sense to come out in the first year of a new console. And Legacy may be the other one, the next big Monolith Soft game. But this is where things get very interesting, because Monolith Soft developing a new IP with Switch 2 hardware could mean some pretty incredible things. So from a certain perspective, Monolith Soft has been limited by Nintendo hardware this entire time. Nintendo hardware isn't powerful, yet Monolith Soft has always had incredible scope and vision for their games. With the original Xenoblade on Nintendo Wii, we were shocked at what could be done there. Being able to jump all the way down to the bottom of this massive waterfall isn't something you expect in even modern day games, but it's something you could do in the original Xenoblade. And in general, the Xenoblade games are some of the most impressive games from a technical perspective for Nintendo hardware. But with the latest ones, there has been something noted about them that is somewhat limited. And that's overall image quality, especially with Xenoblade 2. The dynamic resolution would dip quite a bit, and to a very significant degree in handheld mode. Now for Xenoblade Chronicles 3 they made some serious steps, but still that fuzziness is still there, it remains, and I can just see that on Switch 2 they would be doing a much better job. From what we've heard of the reports from the Gamescom tech demos, we should be anticipating far crisper games. Obviously you could probably make that assumption simply by having more powerful hardware, but from what we've heard of the tech demos being able to run Breath of the Wild supposedly at 4K 60, with virtually no load times, that suggests some very special things. But also, with the improved ray tracing effects we've heard from the Matrix demo, and also the anticipated DLSS features we've heard considering the partnership with Nintendo and Nvidia, what we can expect in terms of improvements for the Xenoblade series, or whatever Monolith Soft will be producing on Switch 2, is going to be a significant jump. We can expect improved image quality, higher texture detail, and just an overall sharpness that would make a big difference. If Xenoblade Chronicles 3 was just sharper at a higher resolution, it would look vastly better. But then also considering the static shadows we see in Xenoblade 3 and also the day and night cycle, the improved abilities of the Switch 2 will allow for more dynamic shadows and even better lighting effects, I think is going to help facilitate a significant leap in terms of visuals for this game. Even the improved loading we're hearing about here. The Xenoblade games are fairly massive, essentially open zone or open world games, and being able to load things in seamlessly is going to make for a big difference with our immersion and just the overall appreciation of the worlds we'll be exploring here. So Monolith Soft's game is going to be very impressive on Switch 2, I think. But it goes beyond just visuals and performance. Tetsuya Takahashi, one of the creators of Xenoblade, said this not so long ago. Rather than playing on defense, going on the offense, change rather than maintain, this is a stance that I've continued to hold for 30 years. If there is another Xenoblade, it will likely be something vastly different from what came before. So earlier I discussed that I think Legacy is likely the new IP they've been working on for such a long time. But there is also the possibility that since Xenoblade has completed its trilogy, that the next Xenoblade game is simply going to be a dramatic departure, and because that trilogy has been completed and may no longer have to do with giant titans, the codenames would not be related. That is a possibility. But regardless, what I see happening here, be it just the next step in the Xenoblade series that's a departure from the initial trilogy, or just a totally new IP, is the license or freedom to go in a different direction. And I love the Xenoblade series. I'm not here saying I don't want more of it, I do. And I expect that a lot of elements of this next game from Monolith Soft will still feel very similar. I think it will still likely be a massive RPG with an amazing story to enjoy. But the way it's done may appeal to a far larger audience. You see, the Xenoblade games are a bit niche. Having a new game taking a slightly different direction, not fitting under that typical JRPG sort of genre, they could have a huge opportunity here to reach a more significant audience. Especially the game comes out and it's this massive world that looks beautiful and runs so well on Switch 2. And I think there are some things we could see with this game that may really help it to stand out. When thinking about Xenoblade Chronicles X, there were some cool things about it, being able to sort of interact with other players as you explore the overworld by collecting different items. It was a passive online multiplayer system, and there were moments where you could join into arenas with other players to battle giant enemies. Xenoblade Chronicles X felt like a bit of a stopgap to somewhat of an MMO, or at least a giant adventure with online cooperative options. I can envision a future Monolith Soft game playing something like this where, say for example, your party, you control your own individual character, and your party isn't other AI controlled characters, but other players you're playing with together online exploring this giant, beautiful sci-fi fantasy world. I think there's some serious potential there with that, and that could bring in a lot of people. But there's another angle I'm considering here. I don't think there's going to be a major Zelda release in 2025. I think 2025, there's a good chance there'll be something, because we get something almost every year, but I'm not expecting like another big adventure, nothing like Tears of the Kingdom, not even anything like Echoes of Wisdom, a new 2D Zelda game. Now there's been some talk of a Breath of the Wild remaster of some sort, maybe that comes. But for the hardcore Zelda fans, that's not going to be anything too new. It would essentially just be Breath of the Wild running at a higher resolution with better load times. And that might be nice. Maybe it'll be done through a graphics patch, maybe it'll have its own physical release. But when I think about what Legacy could be, I think there's an opportunity here to appeal to a big part of the Zelda fanbase. And this is not me trying to argue that this Legacy game from Monolith Soft is going to be a Zelda game, even though Monolith Soft has worked with Zelda and has helped to develop the last few Zelda games. What I'm getting at here is that I think this game could be something of a big fantasy medieval game, because that's what they've been hiring for so many years. And the concept art they've used on their hiring page resembles Zelda. One of them looks like a warrior princess of Zelda, and another has Zelda's symbols. And I don't necessarily think that this game is going to be taking place in the Zelda universe, but a big game from Monolith Soft in the fantasy medieval setting, that could appeal to a big part of the Zelda fanbase. And it could turn out to be one of the biggest surprises of 2025. But that's just my speculation on what we know and have heard so far. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. This is AndresRestart, thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.